Welcome back, everybody, to the Fall In podcast. We had so much fun talking with Derle Parmer that he had so many stories that he wanted to tell even after the fact. We figured we'd go ahead and kick off the recording again. Of course, if you want to have a little bit more background information about Mr. Parmer, you just check out part one and give that a listen. A lot of background information about kind of his some of his service and things. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more. Have at it, guys. Let's get started again.
Well, we never really. I mean, we just
We
kind of
never
been sitting
stopped.
here, just going on and on. But uh, just a ton of stories, and they go back for, I mean, for quite a ways. And so as you sit here and you start thinking about them, and you say, man, like which ones are even worthy of mentioning on the air? So, I mean,
Introduce yourself for us, because I mean, I don't know if you haven't watched part one, you might not know who's talking. That's
well,
Alfonso
if
Nixon.
there's anybody out there that don't know my voice by now, that don't know who Big Al is, well, let me tell you a little bit about Big Al. So I'm about the most charming, most diabolical, most vindictive, most sincere, most two-faced, backstabbing son bitch you ever gonna come across. There's about 53 of us in here, and they're all fighting for mic time. So you never know which one's going to get the push to talk, and that's about Big Al.
I think that describes you very well. Of course, we've been talking to Daryl Parmer, and I know Chad
Well,
Hostetter is also in
that's,
the round of fire with us
that
here
ain't
too.
that ain't Ted Hostet over there. That's Big Baby. If we
Big
sit around the
baby,
campfire, that's
Big
Big
baby,
Baby.
that's right.
big baby. Now this is Daryl Parmer. I just finished the last podcast, and then yeah, I mean we got to talking afterwards, and there was just so many stories being thrown around, and Brian was like, "Man, we just might as well go ahead and fire off with part two." But we were some of the stories are like Al said, you got a whole lot of experience in the army.
Yeah, Daryl. So let me grab this
There he
bull by the
goes.
horns. You were I mean, Daryl's a saw major, guys, and for those of you who don't know, that is he's an E9. I mean, he's the boss, so their perspective is a little bit different. But I want to bring you on back to when you was a first sergeant, because that's the coolest time. Because so, and nothing against saw majors, but just we ain't doing that tonight. So
Amen, Bubba.
so
Amen.
so listen to this right here, Brian. So we do motor stables, and that's when you take everybody and you go down to the motor pool. Generally, it's going to be on a Tuesday morning, and you're going to go out there and you're going to PMCS all of the trucks. You're going to open up the hood, check all of the lights and the little fluid levels and stuff. It just wastes most of your Army day. And we're going to do that on Tuesdays, and then Thursdays, we even got a bigger way to waste time, but we'll get into that later. We're going to be stuck on Tuesday. So Oh, Dragon 7 here, and that affectionately is what we're going to be calling Daryl because he was Dragon 7 at the particular time. He, his people have to come to the motor pool, and they got to be there Tuesday morning. Uh, and we just happen to be coming off of a 4-day weekend because you get one of them every 30 days if you if you in one of them big fighting units. Okay.
It's amazing how you already know where the conversation, what conversation that he's talking about, or what topic he's talking about. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, so this Daryl's guys understanding that they're coming to the motor pool on Tuesday and they're gonna be down there, in and around trucks and stuff and climbing up and down. A couple of these dudes just decided, because I've done this myself, but they decided, and this was back when we wore black boots. Okay. Not the new brown boots where you just kind of like, put them, just lace them up and roll. With the black boots, is a whole different level of preparation with those things because, especially in the 101st, it is what it is. People judge you first. They look down at your feet. I swear to God, they look at your feet first, and then they're gonna go straight up to your headgear, and they're gonna say is because a badass wears a hat a certain way, and a dumbass wears a hat a certain way. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
So So Daryl's guys decide they're not going to shine their freaking boots, and then next thing you know, they come out there to formation, and old Daryl, he spent the whole weekend with the wife and kids, and not his wife, not his kids. But no, I'm just joking on that. But
Nah,
he comes out here and he sees these guys with the unshined boots, and Brian, it causes him to go into it. He starts convulsing and loses them, and he puts them in formation, and he goes through and scuffs everybody in formation's boots.
hold it, hold it, Brian. Now let me give you the real story.
All right.
That's pretty damn close. So yeah, Al's exactly right. I'm standing in formation. We just came off a 4-day weekend. We'd just gotten back from the field, and we were packing our stuff up that Friday before or that Thursday before, and packing all of our stuff back up in the mill vans for storing it. And it was all muddy and everything. So the guys are getting dirty as hell. Who cares? It's Friday. We're going home on a long weekend. Show up Tuesday morning at motor stables, and I'm standing there in formation. I'm standing up in front of the formation. I'm a first sergeant, and I always told my guys, I said, listen, man, as long as you're doing the right thing, you're never going to have to worry about me. It's when you're doing something wrong that you're going to have to worry about me. So I'm standing there in formation. I'm making jokes, and everybody's standing out there.
They were not funny, by the way. even though I wasn't.
That's a little mean-spirited, Big Al. I guess not everybody can be as funny as you.
Hell, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, damn. All right, I'll be quiet.
He's doing my formations every now and then, so he knows how funny I am. But I'm sitting up there. We're having a good time, just cracking jokes. I'm busting people's chops here and there, like, okay. And I was always the guy that first sergeant raised a hand and say, okay. I'd raise my hand and say, all right, how many people out there have not had someone or how did I say it all the time? I said, how many people out there did I not hear about this weekend that I'm going to hear about before noon? In other words, getting a phone call. So, we're just talking it up and enjoying ourselves. And I look, and all of a sudden, 3 in the third rank back there, I'm like, I look down and I see these boots covered in mud, and I stop because I'm laughing and joking, and all of a sudden my face goes to dead serious.
He's looking for a reason anyway. I'm just saying, this how he plays the game.
So I walk back there, and I walk up to this Joe, and I look at his boots. And I'm standing right in front of him, face to face, 6 inches from him. And I look down at his boots, and I look back up at him, and I say, you have got to be kidding me.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. You've got to be kidding me. How was that?
That's exactly how I said it.
You've got to be kidding me.
You have got to be kidding me.
So, mid-joke, you just was like, you've got to be kidding me.
And that was my thing. I had a stamp
That's
made.
like me with 100%, right, Big Al?
Yes, absolutely. That's
Brian,
100%.
I kid you not, I had a stamp made. One of those rubber stamp things you go chunk on a piece of paper, like a signature block. I had one made that said, you gotta be kidding me. And I stamp people. When they bring me different forms and stuff, memorandums or NCOERs or awards, and it's just jacked up 3 ways a Sunday, I'd be like, I'd stamp that bitch and send it back. So here you go.
You can't even just let the man's stuff go through. You just want to use the stamp. Go ahead.
No, I love that.
I do. I look at this Joe, back to formation. I'm looking at him. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You had 4 days.
And the last thing I was thinking about was shining my damn boots. I mean,
exactly.
Seriously.
And you couldn't figure out how to take 5 minutes to wash the mud off your boots and buff them some bitches out. You had to think, I'm going to come to motor pool and it's going to be all right. And I look at him. I look around at everybody else. I said, look at this. Why are you the only one here that decided to do it this way? I look at him and I grab him by the shoulder. I put my hand on his shoulder and I say, you know what? Fuck it. And I kicked the shit out of his boots, knocked all the mud off. I knocked a bunch of mud off his boots. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. I walked up to the front of the damn formation after I kicked his boots and said, and mine were spit shine. You can see freaking damn good reflection in mine. And I took my boots and I said, you know what? Fuck it again. And I kicked the shit out of my boots and said, fuck it. Nobody needs to have shine boots. And And that was it. I left it at that. It wasn't an hour later, I get a phone call from the sergeant major. First sergeant, come see me in my office. All right, Roger, sergeant major. I jumped in my truck, went up there and saw him. I walked in his office. He said, "You kicked a soldier's boots today?" I said, "Roger that, sergeant major. I sure did." He said, "I got a call from IG." Now, mind you, anybody out there that's listening to this that's been in the military, you know what IG is. Those of you that hadn't never been in the military, IG is Inspector General. That's the place that people go when they need to, what's the best way to say it, Al? When they need a voice that will speak for them.
It's like human resources, kind of? Like human resources at a company, kind of?
Yeah, basically. Imagine
that. Let me say this.
Hold on. Wait a second. One more thing. So essentially, that's where you go when you don't think that what you're going to say to the command is going to go anywhere. So they went to IG. Sergeant Major told me, said, "Yeah, I just got a call from IG. Said you kicked a soldier's boots in the motor pool." I said, "Absolutely, Sergeant Major. I damn sure did." And then now, when you get an IG complaint, that's a straight up official complaint.
I gotta interrupt. Listen,
no, hold on. I'm almost done. So when you get
you are too.
But I had the floor, Sarge.
I'm loving what he's talking about, Big Al. Let's let him keep talking.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm almost done.
He's gonna get us canceled, man. He's gonna get us canceled.
I think we're already canceled.
And I told the sergeant major, I said, "Damn right, sergeant major, I sure did." And he gave me the IG complaint, and I read it. And I said, "Yep, everybody, that shit happened." But what he didn't tell you is the actual third part of it, which is there's a he said, she said, and then there's a truth. It's always in the middle. I said, "Damn right, I kicked his boots." And when you answer a IG complaint, the commander's got to be the one to answer it. Well, I'm not going to make my commander write the damn the response. I went back and wrote it and told him exactly what I did, admitted to it, and I actually got a response back from that saying that I assaulted a soldier by placing my hands on them inappropriately and kicking their boots. But that happened after a 4-day weekend. And that was in 2000 and what was that? 2006.
Don't be asking me, man. You're the one telling the story.
2005. That was 2005. That was 2005. But you know what? After that right there, for some reason, I never had a soldier come to formation with his boots dirty again.
See, that's kind of confusing to me, though, because, like, you're talking about, usually in boot camp, you always hear that, yeah, the drill sergeant can put your hands on you. They can beat your ass.
Who told you that?
That's just kind of what, the civilians kind of see it as.
Well, let's talk here and let you represent the civilians here, and then you tell me what your perception is of actually putting your hands.
Well, that's what I'm saying. His story, kind of like that. I would never think there's a human resources in the Army. Kind of like that.
Oh no, it's way worse than that. He said that. I didn't say that. Ooh. It's the IG, and he going on freaking Voice tonight talking about this story, and I'm like, man, you don't want to tell no stories involving the IG. I don't.
When they like the IRS, they gonna hear it.
Worse than the IRS, man. What you talking about? Especially all of those people who work those jobs, and I love those people, by the way. Derle obviously hates them. Most of those people never got to go out to the places that we went. You know what I mean? They kind of got to stay back at home and chill, and then Daryl's attacking them. I just don't understand.
Your name's in the same damn database as mine at the IG office, brother. Trust me.
I ain't had no IG complaints against me. My soldiers loved me.
Everybody loves Big Al.
Derle soldiers even loved you.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'll never forget, Brian. Al's a guy that likes to push buttons. If you don't know Al well enough, give it time. You will figure out. Al likes to push buttons. Al comes over to me one day. I'm a first sergeant at the AVM, which is the big company, and Al's got himself a Delta company over, a maintenance company over in the battalion. Al comes over to me, and he was sitting there just kind of shooting the shit. And Al's like, "Hey, first sergeant, your soldiers don't like you very much." And
just telling you the truth.
But that's the thing. Al always wants to tell you the truth, but it's always a hot button issue when people tell you that your soldiers don't like you. I always think my soldiers like me, at least the ones that never got in trouble. But Al will easily push a button. But here's the thing: it's always in an effort to get you to open up. I'll give you that.
Ooh.
Al, that's one damn thing for sure. I truly believe that. I'm not bullshitting you now, brother. I love you. I love you like a brother, and that's the one thing for sure. Al may push buttons, but Al will do it in such a way to help you open up. So he made me realize, and this is the truth, Al. Al made me realize maybe I was being a little bit too much of an ass all the time. And this is more of the serious side. I realized that I was getting carried away as a first sergeant, because when you're the first sergeant, Brian, you are pretty much you are the end all be all of what happens on a day-to-day basis in your company. And I realized shortly after that Al was probably helping me out and made me realize that I was a little too off the chain, and I had to reel myself back in and look at myself from the outside as opposed to just being the first sergeant. And honestly, Al, that's the damn truth too, bud. I actually took that shit to heart and said maybe I'm being a little bit too much of an ass, and looked at myself and said I need to change the way I'm doing things, and I truly did too. But if the time ever came that I needed to be the ass again, trust me, I had no problem pulling that friggin' RDP out, Bubba.
Yeah, and everybody knew that. I mean, we were all very well abreast of how quickly you could be an ass.
Well, I mean, it's just like
even Chad. As a matter of fact, Chad, hey, look, Chad, tell the story. I need you to tell that story, Chad.
I don't even remember how it started, but it was late one evening, and of course, both these guys were first sergeants, and I'm hanging out with mine because his policy was, well, if the first sergeant's at work, guess where everybody else should be? Well, everybody else was gone. But it was just me and Al, and we had just got through. I mean, it was one of those personal counseling sessions that, only Desperado 7 could deliver. And
Desperado 7, what's that?
That was Big Al's handle back in the day.
Oh, okay.
As, they can tell you more about that than I can. I only played the first sergeant.
Yeah, this ain't Hollywood, cowboy.
That's why I said played. I didn't act. The phone rings, and it's Derle. And I mean, I was just on a roll, and I am talking so much shit. And the next thing I know, dude's screaming, "You tell that taterhead I'll be there in about 2 minutes." I'm like, "You tell his ass he's on a timer." And it wasn't
Y'all cooking eggs?
It wasn't too short of 2 minutes, and then First Sergeant Parmer was standing in First Sergeant Nixon's office, and Staff Sergeant Hostetter was shaking like a dog trying to pass a peach pit, going, "Okay, what do I do?" Because I had known these guys for years. They were always senior NCOs. As I was coming up, and I knew their reputations. And of course, serving with Al as my first sergeant, I mean, I knew who RDP was. There was no question of that. And I knew there was going to be a taterhead dropped, and I knew that somebody was, somebody was going to get skinned up when those two were around. Well, I happened to be the only one around.
Who was
no.
I don't, Al, because Brian, what he's not telling you is that Al was on the phone pushing fucking buttons with me about what. Al, was that about one of the Joes I sent you or something? Because fucking Chad was up there, being big baby about one of the Joes I sent you.
Oh, I mean,
all the problems
which one? I mean, wow! I've never had so many turds. It was just.
I remember walking in the office. And there's Chad standing there with first sergeant at Al's desk and shit, and I'm like, "What in the, what in the hell?"
So I guess here's the thing. Let's let everybody in on that secret. We were getting ready to deploy, and we were on our way to Afghanistan, and they were splitting us up in the task force. So it's kind of like the ultimate hearts game. You know what I mean? But this one is pass to the left. So that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's looking at their cards, and they got to know they're gonna screw somebody or they're gonna make somebody a hero. Okay, so ain't nobody trying to make nobody a hero. So everybody's getting screwed. So they're passing to the left, and that's how we end up in this situation because Daryl gave me the best cards. I mean that he. Wow. I mean,
Out,
there was,
out.
what?
10 seconds of context. 10-second context. When he says passing the cards, I was the largest company in a battalion, and we were creating task forces, so I had to give personnel to all these different maintenance companies out there for them to be able to beef up their numbers and be able to support their mission. Well, I'm not going to give my heroes. And in a lot of cases, they consider them to be zeros, the ones they got. So
what? Who would say that? No, I love these guys. I mean,
so there's the context between passing cards.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I thought y'all was talking about poker. I didn't know what y'all was talking about, or y'all
we're
were talking about Yu-Gi-Oh or something.
personnel. No, we're talking about personnel, and I don't know how many people you passed to me. And some of those guys were 100%ers, 100%. And some of those guys, they're you know which guys are your heavy hitters, and which
you know which ones you want to get rid of, and and at some point your hands are tied and you ain't got a choice.
I'm trying to be nice, but it's only I cannot circumnavigate this big pile of poop that you put on my front step.
I think the term was anchors and oars, and the goal was everybody had an equal amount or plus one oar than they did anchor. Well,
Yeah, we got a whole lot of anchors. But
Which
look,
we gave
what
out
is
some
that
anchors
metaphor?
too,
Like anchors, like they're sinking you, kind of sinking you.
that's exactly what we're talking about. And
thinking or
oars,
slowing down.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Look, we're going to be the most direct, indirect people you're ever going to meet. I mean, we're going to be talking about things that people are going to be like, I think I got it, but you really don't. But yeah, Daryl it's like he cleaned, it's like, I love him, but he cleaned his stables and they dumped all of the excrements on my front doorstep.
How big was Bravo Company at the time, Daryl?
We had 360 Joes MTO, I think it was 360, call it 360. And I was a little heavy, so I think I had about 380. And so that's why when they started, pulling Joes from me, they were like, Sergeant Major kept beating me up, saying, you got to make it hurt. You got to make it hurt. Like, Sergeant Major, goddamn, you still want me to make my mission? Roger that, Sergeant Major. I'll go make it hurt again. And my commander beat my ass in the background back there. Like, why are you giving these guys up? Like, shit, sir. We got to give somebody up. So that's the way
to put that in context, how big was a normal Delta company, Al?
I'm sitting under 100, right at between 92 and 100.
Yep.
And you multiply that, times 4 battalions. I think when we left, we were at 130, 132.
Okay, sounds good.
And you multiply that, 4 battalions worth. He gave up 130 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of
125,
people.
130 people. So, you're going to get what you're going to get.
And I'm just.
And those were the worst in his company that he was giving to y'all.
No, gosh, listen. Here's the thing.
The worst.
I'm giving Daryl a hard time. The reality, because we know each other. I'm joking, but the sincerity of that is, it doesn't really matter as long as these people meet the standard. Period. The rest of it will take care of itself. We're going to war. I ain't going to Disneyland. You know what I mean? It's not like we're going to figure it out because. In order for me to get 75% of the people that he sent me on a plane to go to war, even with the dose that I had, that was still going to be a struggle. So yeah, I don't care. I just need bodies at that point, and the ones that don't go, they don't count against my aggregate. So
yeah, hey Brian, I got something for you because you were talking about it before when we were off after we finished the last podcast. And Al even mentioned it, something to the effect of, it's not like it was in the movies. You were like, and you actually made a good point too. It's like, listen, that's all a civilian really has to relate to, is what we see in those movies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't know a whole lot about what actually is going down. We just have what the production company or studio is putting out. And they have. I think they have experts that kind of talk with those movie producers and stuff like that. But I'm sure it's not accurate.
And one of the most here's the thing. I watched the documentary on Arlie Ermy. Remember who he was?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mail Call. I used to watch that all the time.
No.
Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong guy. I'm sorry.
Same guy, just wrong context.
You know what I'm talking about, though?
Arlie Ermy started out as a military, a military advisor on Full Metal Jacket. But,
I heard this story. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, you've heard this before?
Yeah, I've heard this because it's like, he went on to the movie, as a person that was advising them, and then actually got the role. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he never went to Vietnam.
Oh no, he did too. Yes,
but I mean,
did.
like what I had heard, the guy that had casted before in that thing could not keep yelling for 30 minutes or something like that, and he could keep going and going and going. That's why he got the role.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Derle.
Yeah.
You should hear this guy. You should hear Derle. You think that guy was good?
He could just keep going and going and going, yelling at people.
Fuck, he's worse than my mom.
Was that out?
I said, you're worse than my mom. When you start going, it's like, dude, we get it, but you're still going to be there for another 45 minutes while this guy's just eloquently telling you. And he's not as eloquent as I am, but he goes to great lengths to tell you.
No one's as eloquent as Big Al.
Nobody. Here's the thing. Al will chew your ass, and I mean up and down, and tell you a story while he's doing it. That's the one thing.
Everybody loves a good story.
I bet the story's funny
never
too.
Changed
Like you're
the tone
wanting to
of his
laugh,
voice.
You want to laugh, but he's got a serious face on.
What was that you said, Chad?
And never changed the tone of his voice.
Exactly.
Because you can be a fucking idiot. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to be a fucking idiot. Because this one time, I had this fucking idiot. And the next thing you know, I mean, you're over in the corner crying, holding yourself, trying to hold it together so the guys don't see you crying when you leave his office.
But see, that's the thing too, Brian, with the movie aspect from the civilian perspective, you guys only see it in the movies. And when you look at it when you use Full Metal Jacket, that's a very good.
That's every fucking day.
Exactly. That is a very good way to look at how some of us have to deal with things every day in the Army.
I mean, because look, here's the deal. These little bastards are. If you leave two of them in a room, a padded room with an anvil, you come back in 10 minutes, they will have broke the fucking anvil. I mean, so. I mean, you're dealing with people who have been trying to figure out how to get over on something since they woke up, at 17, and they are still trying to get over. And you're sitting there like, if you guys were half as good as you think you were, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like dude, just start doing good. It's just taking you so much effort to do the wrong thing, and it's just blowing up, wasting all of our time.
Yeah, but I mean, did you ever find maybe looking at it from their perspective, like were you ever kind of like that at some point, or?
Oh my God! You want to know who I was? My first 8 years in the Army.
Every one of us were.
I was a leadership challenge. You want to talk about Daryl's boot story? All right, so let me tell you this story. So I'm in the 160 at the time, Spec Ops, and we just do what we do. Well, when I was at Drum, they issued me these cold weather boots, and they were Danners, and I wore these things. And the thing about these boots is you don't have to you can't polish them. So that was my excuse to not polish boots, even though I'm wearing these things and it's 150 degrees outside. I'm still not polishing boots. So here I am, and I'm back here at Task Force, and now we're rolling in like year 7, year 8, and got a new first sergeant in, and he is just, livid. And we don't do Army stuff over there, but today we're doing Army stuff. and he's got everybody in formation, and he is going through, and this guy he is ripping he's ripping people to shreds. I mean, and like people are crying, and it's all over their boots and their appearance. Well, here I am on the end with this way out of regs mustache, which you ain't gonna. There's nothing you can do about that. But then, they're looking at my boots, and these boots ain't had no blackening on them, ever. You get what I'm saying? I mean, you can see the cowhide out in these damn things, and so they're trying to figure out who's going to go down with me. Oh, you're his squad leader. Oh, you're his team leader. And I'm like, fuck, I get it. I mean, I screwed up. So here I am. I'm sitting there, and I'm the last man because we're 4 squad. I'm the last man in the company. And after this dude just shredded people, he comes and he's standing in front of me, and he looks down at my feet, and he looks up at me, and he says, "And what's your excuse?" And I said, "Well, first, aren't boots so big? I ran out of kiwi." And that's
what does that mean? What?
Kiwi is
ran out of
polish.
kiwi.
Kiwi is black boot polish.
Oh, okay.
Boot polish.
My feet so big, I ran out of boot polish. Okay.
Yeah, feet so big, I ran out of kiwi. And he did exactly what Derle did right there, and just walked off, and he said, "That guy."
Exactly. That's exactly what I would have done.
And that sums up my military career.
I bet he was laughing at some point, though. I bet he was laughing at some point.
The takeaway from that, Brian, is the bastard got away with it.
Yeah.
Just with his personality. That just makes sense to me because, I mean, just
No,
his
because
personality
nobody
got
else
through.
ever had an answer.
Exactly. Well, first off, nobody else would think to say something so out freaking landish as I ran out of kiwi. Boot so big, I ran out of kiwi, First Sergeant. Nobody come up with that shit.
That's
Only
Big Al.
Alfonso freaking Nixon would come up with that shit.
That's true. I mean, people will tell you that I probably came up with. Yeah. Anyway.
Damn.
That's funny there. I mean, you were able to get away with stuff just because you were Big Al.
Yeah.
Affectionately known as Specialist Nixon or that Taterhead, they had a lot of names for me, man.
But you still managed to be promoted and stuff like that. I mean, so it seemed like you were still doing something right.
That's you, Al.
I'm just sitting there.
I know what he wants. I know what he wants to say, but he ain't gonna say it in this form.
Why don't y'all say it for him?
I can't. No, hell no. You think getting the IGs involved? I damn sure ain't gonna say that.
Well, what do you mean? You talking
Next.
about my Discord?
Next.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian. One thing that, and I will still go back to the civilian perspective. Is I said it in my in my original podcast previously. It's like people just don't. The civilian side does not know what goes on in the world. You got they've got their blinders on, and they stop at the friggin' borders of the United States, and people don't realize. And here's the thing. Excuse me. The Army is made up of a perfect slice of America. You've got guys that they lived in their car when they were 5 years old till they were 12 before they went into foster care. The guys that just straight up blue collar to guys that their dads are millionaires. Every walk of life in the United States is in the military, to include immigrants, because they come in and it's the fastest way for them to get their green card. By God, hell yeah! You want to come friggin' serve a country that you want to get a green card in and actually do a great thing for us? Give that somebody your green card if he does it honorably. Hell yes, I'm all for it. But what people don't know is that slice of America plays out every single day in the military, and the civilian sector just don't know it. Those two guys on the other line over there, they've lived it every single day, and trying to deal with, how do I make this Joe understand I need him here at the right place, right time, right uniform. Just follow orders when you get there, Bubba. That's all I need you to do. That's what people don't know. the civilians, they've got blinders on, and they just can't. They can't fathom the shit that we have to do every single day.
I think what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna try to pitch into what Daryl's saying is because I witnessed this when I first started working in the civilian sector, and that was a huge transition for me. Was going from Fort Campbell, which is where I was at for dang 18 freaking years, right, to coming to Huntsville and being a civilian. Uh, in the military, it never ends. When these guys go home, and Chad can tell you how many guys he can't even count how many guys' houses that we've been through. We're because it's about what's in your car, it's about what's in your house, it's about what's in your closet. If I go to somebody's house, and I would tell my guys, you got to go see where your soldiers living, and people will listen to this and be like, no, you ain't coming to my house. Yeah, I'm gonna do it without you knowing. Like, hey, look, I'm right around the street, man. Got something to drop off for you and your family. Oh yeah, you want some free shit, right? So now I'm in the door, and all I got to do is get in the door. If I'm in the door of anybody's house, standing right there within that 2 foot square, that's all I need to know about how you're living. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's just like opening your car door. So I would tell my guys, look, you got one opportunity a month to go look at you got to check their cars. You don't just look at the brakes and the tires. Look at what's inside that thing, man. Because if it's full of cheeseburgers and old French fries, then maybe you need to check this Joe out a little bit harder.
Peel the onion back.
Like he ain't living right.
Well, and Chad just said it best. It's about peeling the onion back. It has layers, and because look, there's nothing happens overnight. If somebody's going to do something, I guarantee you, they started doing it months ago. And leadership is intersecting them before they make those bad choices and decisions that are irreversible and getting them back on the path of right. That's what leadership is. And then the other part of that is accountability. And the accountability piece is when you just say, well, yeah, I missed all of that. And that's why I'm a dumb butt. Because you can't miss that. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you miss it, then we're going to end up in a morgue or an emergency room. And who might be dead? Could be the kid. Who knows? That's what leadership is. It's not called drafting. It's difficult. And nobody and what Daryl's saying is the greater part of the people on the other side of the fence, they don't understand that. Because I gotta make sure these guys are complete and whole if I'm ever gonna be able to get them to get on a plane and go across country. Imagine if you would have to go get 4 guys right now to get in the back of a pickup truck to go across the dang railroad track and defend your sister's honor. Think about that, and then and having 4 guys that you know right now that are going to either be in that truck or in the bed of that truck when you get to where you're going. Think about that.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's the thing too with like I was talking about. There's different styles of leadership in the military. And I used to tell my guys, I ask them, hey, what is my style of leadership? And they all run off the bat, directive. That's my style. I will tell you what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, and then I move out. I'm good with it as long as you get it done right. I'm gonna come back and verify. And that's the problem, is that too many leaders out there in the military, they don't want to turn around and go back and verify. They think that I can just tell them what to do and they will go do it, and that's it. But the problem is nobody verifies. It's always, everybody knows, it's called trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
Bingo. So problem is nobody wants to go back and verify, and if they do, they don't want to hold anybody's feet to the fire.
That's the accountability piece.
That right there is the part of leadership that a lot of people don't want to get involved in. I don't want to be the bad guy.
Oh, and so
sounds like it could be based on laziness in a lot of ways, though, too.
Well, lazy is as lazy does, but that's not it. We're gonna monitor your pace as well as your step count. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if you're in the Army and you were sitting around not doing nothing, that means people weren't watching you closely enough. And I lost my whole train of thought on that.
Well, the biggest thing that you're looking at when you're picking somebody for a job, okay? Al, we've all done it. You know, I need a platoon sergeant, but I don't want a platoon sergeant that's just going to stand there and hold the position. I want a platoon sergeant that's going to take charge. I don't care if you're liked or not. I'm not worried about that. Here's the thing. I used to tell my Joes whenever I go to a new duty station or new assignment, whenever I walk in, I'm like, listen, guys, I got my orders right here. And I'm dead serious. It's exactly how I used to do it. I got my orders. I read them really good. Nowhere in my orders when it said go to Fort Campbell and you're assigned to Bravo Company 563rd or anything like that, nowhere in my orders did it say be everybody's friend, win popularity contests, get invited to all the cool parties. That's not what they wanted me to do when I came here. I'm not here to kiss your ass.
Yeah. I got you.
And that's the thing, that too many people are just wanting to get from point A to point B or from today to tomorrow with as least amount of controversy as they can possibly have to go through. But when you get the right guy in the right position, that right platoon sergeant, that right first sergeant, or that right sergeant major, or even that right squad leader for that matter, even down to the team leader, you get those guys, you get the right people in the right position, those are the guys that are going to start making a difference because they're going to hold their Joe's feet to the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, a big part of this is building the team. And I think that's what I want people to understand, because when you go into this, you're trying to get, I mean, it's like combing a rough coated animal. I mean, because that you got each one of these guys is rigid in their own way. And you're trying to get them all to go not with the grain even, but with what the best for the company is. And like running a regular company, the difference is people come, they work for you for 8 hours and they go home. Well, these guys gotta embrace it. They gotta to feel it. It almost has to be like they're part of a gang, is what the way I always like to attribute it. And I wanted my guys to understand that we had the veracity of the worst kind of gangs. Like people needed to know not to mess with the desperados or the bandits or wherever the hell I was at that time. You get it? I mean, am I wrong on that, High Speed?
Absolutely, Hul. Nailed it.
I was just fooling about.
Well, I wasn't.
I wasn't.
Now, don't get me wrong, though. I'm the hardest guy you will ever have to work for. And I used to tell my Joes the same thing. But everything Al said about building the team, that was my intent. I want to build a team of people that are going to do the right thing. Everybody says in the Army, you do the right thing even when someone's not looking. That's the team I wanted. And those that were not doing that, those are the ones that I came down on the most. And Brian, I don't know, what is your background on the civilian side? What do you do for a living, brother?
Well, I mean, mostly doing broadcast. Mostly doing like broadcasting for iRacing and things like that, and running. I have some businesses I'm starting, kind of things like that. Really more to do. What did I do before I started doing all this stuff? I mean, I pretty much worked in a restaurant and waited tables.
There you go. But that's a good point right there. A great job to have, because you still had to meet the requirements of the boss, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you also got to see pretty much every walk of life in a lot of ways too. Just like you said with the Army, is like a microcosm of America. I kind of got to see that too.
Yeah. So everybody's trying to build that team, and everybody has their different way of doing it. Now, Al, I love you, brother, but you're making it sound like you're the sweetest guy out there. But I'm glad that Chad said that he never changed his tone when he chew your ass, because I'll chew ass. There's no doubt about that.
What, me? No, bro, you got the wrong dude.
Yeah,
I'm Mr. Funny Man.
You gotta remember that he said just a little bit ago. I think maybe might have been in the last podcast. He said it, that he has like 53 personalities. Which one you gonna get?
Oh, they're all fighting. Yeah, I did say it in a minute.
They're all fighting to come to the top.
He's not joking.
And not a bit.
It got kind of somber on that note.
Well,
Nobody disagreeing.
I think it's almost like the takeaway is and these guys taught me that um, identifying the problem's easy, but do you have the skill set to fix the problem in accordance with the governing authority of the institution? And in the Army, that was the regulation.
Yep.
And you either did or you didn't. Um, and I said in my podcast, and Derle, I don't know if you heard it or not, but I pointed out the military. A lot of folks, especially in modern, the times we find ourselves in, the military's not a social experiment. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Every day, the cultural mixing bowl of America, buys into the idea of freedom and supporting and defending the Constitution against all enemies. So help them God.
Foreign and domestic.
What is that? I mean,
Don't forget the foreign and domestic part.
We also got to think the U.S. The government has done some pretty bad things when it comes to like testing on people. So I think it is a social experiment in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I got you, but
MK Ultra, you guys definitely heard about that.
No, look, here's what I'm gonna say. This we can talk and we can joke about, and you can talk about my sister and my mama, but don't talk about my government.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. I'm just saying that there's plenty of proof out there.
Look, I didn't climb the dang hill or two to defend my government's honor.
I know you're a conspiracy theorist too, Big Al.
And I don't know about that, but I'm just kind of, you guys get what I'm saying though, because I love her. I love the old girl. I mean,
oh yeah, we all love her. But I mean, you could love the old girl, but she's got faults. Everybody's got faults, just like the U.S. government has. Everybody's got faults.
Yeah, but you ain't gonna let nobody talk about your mom.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. That's a good point. Good way to look at it. Because I mean, like you said, you're married to maybe not your mama, but you're married to the the Army. So it's like anytime you hear somebody talk bad about the Army, it's like, don't you be talking about her like that,
No, the Army can defend itself. I mean, that's their motto, right, guys?
Will defend. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that and you compare being married. My wife, she hated Al.
Well, that's kind of normal though with like your best friends. I mean, that's kind of normal.
No, man, she wanted absolutely no part of being a part of, because by the time that a little bit of background on that story, we're at Fort Irwin, California, in the middle of the desert.
NTC, baby.
And I was a platoon sergeant in Bravo company, in a flight company. Your A, B's, and C's were your flight company, your D's were your maintenance company, and then the support battalion. Derle had the intermediate capability, depot level stuff, and repairs at his hangar. And I guess Colonel Benson, our battalion commander. Hey, Hoss, what's up, sir? You go see First Sergeant Nixon. I'm like, oh boy, who did what? And I'm like, who did what?
Yeah.
And I walk in, and sat down, and he nicked me. Well, hey, just so you know, I've already cleared it through the colonel. You're going to be maintenance platoon sergeant when we get back. Did anybody think about running this shit by me?
It's an opportunity.
Thinking that I got a vote, So, but long story short, long story short, I took it. That's what I say in my mind. But we get back, back, and I go over to Delta Company, and of course, you talk about building a team, so you got to have all your coordinators get on board, right? You got your coach, and then now you got your coordinators. The Tim Mahakos, Ray Lemieux, Tommy Benitez's, Chad Hostetter, Virgil DeVinny's. Let's not dig too deep in that, but
names.
That hey guys, we're going to my house, and my wife's like, no, fuck, we ain't. You can go over there all you want, but I'm not going. I'm like, but baby, you don't understand, this. And I had been in the Army for 10, 11 years, somewhere in there. And we've never really been a part of that, We never really been involved with a family readiness group, where kind of everybody got together and gossiped about everybody else is what I called it. But there was a deeper meaning that I eventually got to understand. But hey, we're going over to First Arms. No, we ain't.
Well, I mean, she had to. You would think she would have understood how important, that
You with
it's like
him
their
enough.
family. It's like your family.
Well, I spent a lot of time with my family. And
Amen.
didn't spend a lot of time with my family, if you know what
Oh
I'm
yeah, you're
saying.
talking about your actual family. Yeah.
Right. And it was, I think the other gentleman on this line, we live by a creed where everybody else came first, and looking back, transitioning and looking back, I often put my family second, and damn, you're looking back like, man, well, if I could have done that different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but here's the thing though, and I totally understand what you're saying as well as appreciate it. But looking back, you can't look back because we needed you. In order for us to do what we did, we had to be as involved as we were. If we were not as involved as we were, we might not even be here today. I mean, do
Oh,
you
no
agree?
doubt. No doubt.
We had
Absolutely.
to be committed.
Because there were people that, and not to go off on, a tangent of mine, but there were people that weren't committed that caused angst and discord, uh, and created uncertainty amongst us, that were, let me stop. But, these, these guys were, the Al used to say, hey man, what is so important you got to live for? And eventually you're like, yeah, what are you guys so excited about? What's the deal? And he talked about that aviation or the ammunition supply point, being on fire, when we were kind of cutting up there on break. But man, there's some when your junior guys are looking around and they see your leaders running around nervous, scared, uncertain, you know, unsure of themselves, that creates something.
Anxiety, probably for sure.
Right.
I want to touch
And
back on something we were just kind of talking about, though. You were saying that how you feel like you kind of wish you did it different when it came to your family. Of course, we've kind of in a previous episode talked about how much people, that the actual family members themselves sacrifice. They have to be kind of committed to that. Daryl, talk us about you didn't really have that issue, right?
No, I didn't, and I was just sitting there thinking when Chad was talking about that. That's my biggest regret of everything because I made mistakes in the Army. I made mistakes.
Not
I
me.
made work to prove it.
please tell me you're recording.
Hey, not me. I was about to pray for
my,
this.
biggest, my biggest mistake that I ever made, and to this day, it was I never had kids. I did. I married the Army. I was so focused on being professional. Sorry, guys. Excuse me. That's Mama. I was so focused on being professional that I made it a point to not get involved with take advantages. So from my perspective as a senior leader, when like Chad was talking about with the family readiness group, we call it FRG, and that's the every commander is responsible to manage a FRG group at their level, whether it's company or battalion or brigade or whatever. Each level has their own, even up to division. They have their own FRG group, family readiness group. Excuse me. And I'll never forget when I one of my first ones I ever sat in on. I went in there with the mentality of a first sergeant talking to Joes, and having
Wow, yeah, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, no shit, it didn't work well at all. Luckily, my commander jumped in.
Wait, luckily your commander's commander was there.
No, it was Captain Stahl.
Can you explain 1 second though, Joe's? Can you tell us what that is? Because a civilian don't know what that is.
Yeah, Joe, GI Joe. It's all of my Joes, all of my soldiers. Soldiers are Joes.
Gotcha.
Yep. So I'm sitting up there and I'm talking to the spouses. I knew I kind of had to tone it down a little bit, but I was talking to the spouses, kind of like I was talking to my Joes in a very direct way. And I had to, but my commander, it was Mike Richard. He's the one who jumped in and kind of reeled me back in and calmed down a couple of the wives that you could see they were getting ready to stand up. But from my perspective, I had to learn how to deal with the family members. Because, a wife can come in and tell me to kiss her ass if she wants, and I can't do a damn thing about it. And I had a few of them that felt like they probably wanted to, but luckily
there's things you could say, but
to be professional. So from a civilian, from a single person's perspective in the military, single soldier's perspective in the military, I had to find the right way to deal with all of my FRG members and the wives, even the wives that didn't participate in it. That's tough for a single guy that lives in his office. Let's put it that way. I'm married to the Army, but I'm not married to you. And there's quite a few times I had to reel myself back in and learn how to deal with the FRG.
And that's exactly what Chad was talking about, as far as, because me dealing with the FRG was me kind of dealing with his wife, right, Chad?
Yeah,
But
man.
maybe
Sorry, I
that was
had
her
to shut some
perspective.
windows.
Yeah, maybe that was your Chad's wife's perspective on it, kind of
Well,
like.
Well, no, that is exactly what was going on. I chose her to be my FRG leader. So, Chad, you want to speak on that?
Well, and just I kind of missed out on the last couple minutes there. I had to close some windows. It's starting to rain over here. Excuse me. But in her eyes, I left at 5 in the morning, and I got home, 6:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and then we were on the phone trying to figure out what happened or what was going to happen the next morning, and react to everything that, have a contingency for everything that could go wrong overnight.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy though. So you're sitting there, like, you get home at 6:30 or 7 o'clock after being there all day and having to wake up early in the morning. You probably only get like a few hours with your wife, and then you're still having to be on the phone about things like what's going on at work, and still not kind of giving her the attention that she probably would like.
You don't have to be.
So that was just kind of like you were kind of, even though it was your off time, you were still using it.
Well, that was my, Derle talked about leadership styles, and then, being 1,000 of them, that was my style, because the guy that was trying to mentor me and trying to get me to the next level was pouring everything he could into me for as long as I was there for him to do that. And
I think I'm starting to pick it up now, because that's why she didn't like Big Al.
And it was like, are you fucking kidding me? He's calling you right now. And
he's home. Stay home, baby.
and for a long time, like, I lived the closest. So,
dude.
In order for me to not, have to go back out, I would haul ass home and mix a stiff drink in the garage, take my boots off, mix another one to take in the house, and swallow dinner. And then by the time I did that, Al was usually leaving work somewhere between, exit 11 and Sabre Army Heliport. Hey.
Yep.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, first one, it's been a couple hours. Not really, like 45 minutes.
And you already got 2 drinks.
You having a couple drinks? Hell yeah. Oh man, shit. Let me call Ray. I'll call you right back. Somebody else would have to go, do whatever needed to be done.
was
I had
that was a good way to get out of stuff, huh?
But
Hell, brother, that started for me a long time ago. I mean,
but but Al always made a reference to to the pig and the chicken. You want to be committed, you want to be involved. I was committed.
Bingo.
I just never, I didn't look the part. I didn't all the time act the part, so I never got to. I only got to play the part.
AKA Big Baby.
I only got to play the part. But the wise man once said, you can deliver your message to anybody in the military as long as your hands are in the right spot, and that's how I operated. Whether it was him, whether it was command,
Oh, are you calling me the wise man?
whether it was
Seems like everybody's
somebody
saying it,
else.
like Big Al's like he's like the guru over here that everybody goes to.
The Oracle.
Bingo. Yeah, I'll tell you about the FRG, Brian. I had a platoon sergeant when I was over there at AVM with the company that sent all the heroes over to Al and Chad. I had a platoon sergeant one time. It was a Friday night. Now this is me building the relationship with the FRG, and that his wife was part of the FRG. And I told the platoon sergeants, hey, I need this information before COB. And this is a Friday night, and I'm looking at my email for the information I said I needed. And sure enough, I look in there, I got it from everybody but one platoon sergeant. And I called the platoon sergeant on the phone and said, hey, platoon sergeant, I'm looking for such and such. And he said, oh, hey, first sergeant, I didn't have a chance to get that done. I'll get it to you first thing Monday. I said, no, you'll get it to me tonight because I need it now. And that's exactly when I told you I need it by COB. So you can go ahead and get it to me now. And he whispering. And he says, first sergeant, I'm sitting here with my in-laws and my wife at what was the pizza joint downtown off of
Black Horse.
Black Horse. He said, first sergeant, I'm at Black Horse with my wife and my in-laws. They're in town. And I said, hey, platoon sergeant, that's not my problem. I told you I needed it, so go ahead and get it to me now. And about 30 minutes later, his wife, because he'd been drinking, his wife pulled up in the parking lot with him. He jumped out of the car, and I looked at her, and let me tell you something. I didn't say a damn word because I was doing nothing but burning bridges. Because at some point, no matter how much you're trying to prove a point to the Joe, the wife does not care. And that's still something unfortunately, you still got to take into account. But the bigger issue is, are you getting what you need for the job that you paid them to do? And that's where the wives don't understand that. Unfortunately, I did not win any popularity just with that spouse.
Right, because when guys go home, and this is another thing we're talking about a lot. We'll break this down into 10 segments, but and Brian understand this because the dynamic, right? Think about the average bear, just the average guy who graduated in the middle of his high school class, who shoots in the middle of the scope, who performs in the middle of his peer group. Just the normal dude. Do you understand who I'm talking about? You got a mental picture of just everybody's dad, just that guy who's
Average
out there.
dude.
Yeah. Well, he's caught up in the midst of this as well. And so here he is just simply trying to coexist. So he comes to work and he's got all of these alpha whatevers. He doesn't understand it and they're rah, rah, rah. Then he goes home and he's got rah, rah, rah. And he's just trying to fit somewhere in the middle, man, and coexist. So, I mean, that, and sometimes that takes a totally bad turn at home. Sometimes the guys are at work and they get yelled at all day, and they go home and they take that out on their families.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was just kind of thinking, too. I mean, being under a lot of pressure like that could cause some guys to break mentally.
What was that you said, Chad?
Or vice versa.
and I've dealt with the
You
vice
know,
versa.
and we've dealt with vice versa. That sticks out in my mind, man. That I tell that story. I don't mention the names, but I tell that story, and people are absolutely just blown away.
Now, what
Tell
does the
the
Army
story.
do about that though? Like if you were like you was talking about going checking out a home, like that actual Joe's home, you go to his house and see what's going on there. If you found that he was maybe hurting his kids or his wife, like what would be the thing that would be done about that?
We can't talk about that on the air here. I know personally. We
That's
just,
just that definitely what a civilian would want to know. That's for sure.
Well,
But
well, I'll
that
tell you what. Let me
I'll say it to you. I'll say it to you because I can tell you the official side would be, and officially, yes, I can remove a soldier from his house by the commander saying you will be housed in the barracks for such and such period, and I will issue an MPO, military protective order, for your spouse in the event that that spouse is in danger or anybody that we feel is in danger by the soldier. The official that by regulation specifically, don't ask me what it is. I don't remember what it is anymore. But you can give a soldier an MPO to protect that spouse or whoever from that individual and put him under watch.
Well,
In
that's
a very
definitely I think sufficient. I mean, that's a pretty covers it. Protects that person if they feel like they've been
it's
victimized.
now, and that is the number one thing we can do at our level at the command. That's the number one thing we can do. If we think someone's is in a harm's way from a soldier, we can get control of the soldier. I can get control of Joe. I can't do a damn thing to the spouse. That's something that the civilians got to do because I've had an issue where my soldier was being assaulted by his spouse, and she
That's a
got
different version of it. Yeah.
So yeah,
oh, I had a lot of those.
but it happens, though. That's. I think that's the eye-opening piece. We had a kid that was. I say kid. He was a soldier. Sorry, but he's always late. Never had a car. Never always. But the kid was always on time. Uh,
they're there.
and man,
They're out there.
like Daryl said earlier, right time, right place, right uniform,
Follow.
generally positive attitude, and a pair of work gloves got you through most days.
That's a fact.
But that, hey man, what's really going on? To peel those layers back, and the onion
you were
master,
talking about, yeah.
the onion master is, when he said he was cerebral, that he's not joking. Everything is a deliberate, well
Referring to
thought
Big Al?
out. Yeah, and I hate to give him shout out, especially since you're recording, because it'll probably come back and bite me in the ass.
He gonna have he'll have that in for eternity. He'll just be shoving that in your face.
But no, both
I
these
mean,
dudes
it
know
is.
exactly where I'm coming from when I say things like I'm saying right now. It's man, that that's heavy to deal with. You got a guy getting his ass beat when he gets home because he had to work 8-10 hours.
Fact.
Look, I had one guy, and I knew that this guy was kind of getting bossed around by his old lady, and without demasculinating him, I bring him up. I bring him up to my office. And I see Chad's muted himself, probably to keep from laughing. But so I bring this guy upstairs, and I'm just having a conversation with him, and it's a real conversation. And I'm like, you know what, man, because I need him to be more assertive. And so I asked the guy, I said, so what are you having for dinner tonight? And he was like, well, First Sergeant, and I'm like, you know what? I need a man that needs to be able to affect what he's having for dinner tonight. Can you be that guy? And he's looking at me like, what are you talking about? Pick up your damn phone, call your wife, tell her you want a steak and potatoes. And he's like, I can't do it. And I'm like, get your fucking wife on the phone, tell her you want a steak and potatoes. And he calls her, and Chad, what happened? Come on, Chad. We're gonna edit out the distance, but come on.
He's muted.
Sorry, I put myself back on mute. Well, man, I don't remember, kind of verbatim, but I don't think dude had steak that night. And
What?
I'm pretty sure he took a ass chewing when he got home, but
You don't think he didn't? So she chewed him out when he got home?
if I recall
She had
correctly,
steak. It sounds like.
Because he called her and told her he wanted a steak, and I just assumed he had steak.
well, hey,
Well,
good
there
on
you go. You should have. What was it? What was the saying
We-
you had just said? Go back and check on it. Verify.
We didn't
Yeah.
follow up.
Yeah. Well, he ended up, he left me.
Yeah, bless him.
He was
It's
across.
unfortunate.
Yeah, he said he believed he could fly, and I was like, okay, R. Kelly, we'll see where it gets you.
Now that is hilarious. That's Big Al for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we get into story time. I mean, we got so many stories that kind of run into another, man, and it. But Chad,
I
I
love it.
I want to go back to that one where we're talking about when the ASP catches on fire.
Oh man, that was how far away were we? Maybe 200 yards, 150 yards.
Yeah,
What
I
caught
know,
on
I
fire
know.
now?
That the ammo supply point.
That
That-
sounds very dangerous. If an ammo supply point is on
Well,
fire,
and I believe the Jordanians were running that. They were guarding it.
where was this at? A little bit of background on it.
this is a
That-
shank.
That was at Fob Shank in Afghanistan, probably circa 2009,
Okay.
towards the end of 2009, because we left in November, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But we were, kind of wrapping up, doing different things, and we had consolidated down to, let other guys, other units that were coming in, kind of occupy their space so they didn't have to. The goal was to get everybody in, have them move one time, and then be where they were going to stay at least until we were gone. And I had been on the night shift. I had flown that night. Got back, recovered my aircraft, put it to bed. When you're flying nights, sometimes you get done early. And sometimes you fly till the sun comes up.
Yeah. I bet it's beautiful though to be flying up there and see the sun coming up.
Most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life. Next
Oh, really?
story. Yeah. Well, to me,
Afghanistan, yeah.
But no, man, I had got done early and went by and checked on my dudes. They're turning stuff at nighttime. We did a couple things there, whatever, and I noticed the lights were on over in Commander First Sergeant's area. So I go bebopping over there, and there's Al. So we hang
And then
out.
There's Al.
We hang out. Like, hey man, let's go get some breakfast. Yep.
There wasn't no Waffle House though. What was for breakfast?
No. Well, whatever.
better than the Waffle House.
Better than the Waffle House most days.
That's
But,
for sure. Come on, man. That's my highlight right there.
But we go in, we eat whatever, everybody's waking up, and dude, I'm like 2 minutes from going into La La Land, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose.
Oh no! What
And
happened?
there's explosions, there's slamming doors, there's people screaming. I mean, Al's
Cut
what,
cut
2
the
doors
air
down?
attention with a knife. There sounds like.
Al's 2 doors down, and we come and hit the door about the same time. Like, what the hell's going on? And I'm not kidding you, Brian. It was like, it almost looks like, one of those Three Stooge movies. Or like, because I mean, we covered how
Chickens with their heads cut off.
massive-
Sounds like.
we covered how the statute of Al Nixon, 6'4", and there's my little 6-foot ass running around. And so I kind of went low, and we opened the door, and there's shit on fire.
Oh no!
And you talked about movie
Well,
scenes
I,
earlier.
this is kind of scaring us a little bit though, because we're around the campfire right now.
Well, it was similar to that, but I mean, there's shit burning. The smell, it's awful, and people are running around like you said, chicken with their head cut off. And you talk about movies, man. This was like a scene out of a movie because I think during my podcast, we kind of talked about things slowing down. Well, everything was like in slow motion. And
Yeah,
I'll
the
let Al
adrenaline was
I'll,
in,
I'll
right?
let Al take it from there because I don't want to say something I'm not supposed to say.
Was the adrenaline kick kind of kicking in on you?
No, not for me
No,
because
not at all.
at that point, I'd been up and I was getting ready to lay my head down for a couple hours, to get some sleep. And like Darrell said, this rocket count. So the same area that he was talking about, where was that zone? That's what we had built. I mean, because this when I got there, I walked through the hole in the fence every day to go out there to start building this area just so they could drop bombs on us. So but this is different because this is an ASP that's on fire, and it's coming from the top from battalion, and they're saying the ASP is on fire, and uh, they're telling us to evacuate like the first three rows of tents. And I'm sitting there looking, and I'm like, well, I got the first three rows of tents, and so I come back across radio, and I'm like, well, that's a negative. We're not evacuating the first three rows of tents, and they said evacuate the first three rows of tents. And I was like, why? Because are the second three rows fortified? I mean,
Exactly.
what difference does it make if we're talking about rockets and freaking bullets that are cooking off in an ASP, and certain people are like, get in. There's no fire department in the desert, Brian. Do you understand that?
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah,
I'll let you process
that's
that for
probably
a
where
minute.
one is needed most, though. Just considering in the desert everything's dry and is capable of catching on fire very easily.
So I just want you to process the fact that we don't have a fire department. We don't even have a fire truck.
Hmm. So
Do
y'all
you
don't
all?
have any hoses or anything? Like,
Well,
any
we
The
got
only
fire?
plenty.
thing,
Yeah,
We
the
got
only thing
plenty.
that we had was for the aircraft themselves with the Trimaxes.
Fact.
just like a
And we
fire
cannot
extinguisher,
use
like a small one or something.
and we cannot use those for this.
It was a big ass fire.
Yeah, bigger than you. Yeah, yeah, about that big or bigger.
What did y'all do?
Hell, I went back to sleep.
Oh my! No, you didn't.
Swear to God, we went back to bed.
Wow,
Hey,
there's a
hey,
fire
hey,
going
hey,
on, and you just go
hey.
back to bed?
Hey, what, that's on fire. And they're like, yeah, no shit. What, what are we going to do? I looked
I'm
at
going.
Al, and Al said, I'm going back to bed. I was like, uh, I'm not going back to bed with him, but man, I ain't been long crawling in the sack, so. Well, and the whole time shit's just cooking off in the back.
You
And
hear
this
like
cat is,
it's probably the
this cat
ammunition
is,
firing,
this,
right?
this cat is dancing on the rocks. I'm going that way. Like, all right, man, be careful.
Good luck. I mean, if you think about it, and it sounds kind of like, yeah, you didn't go back to bed. Yeah, I sure did go back to bed. What are we gonna do? Nobody can put this out. I mean, we know nothing we got is fortified, guys. I'm just being honest with you. This isn't even a go to the bunker call because I mean, we spend enough time in the dang bunkers as it is. So yeah, I went back to sleep.
Well, tell me this. I know in like movies and stuff like that, like if you put like a shell of ammunition in a fire, it'll go off and shoot somewhere. Like was that a concern? Like it could have shot
Yeah,
through the
that's
building and.
yeah, that's called a cook off. Yeah, and the stuff in the ASP was cooking off. It cooked off until it was done.
It was a concern for some, but we were tired.
Did anybody get killed?
Nope,
Wow.
not on that issue.
So I guess go to back to bed. How were you able to sleep with those? Just pow, pow, pow.
Because at that point, Brian, we'd been there. I mean, we were.
You were used to that
I
sound.
was about ready to get out of there. So
Well, like Daryl said, 219 days of living in Mortaritaville.
the rocket season, the
You
rocket
know.
city.
City.
I mean, what the hell's small arms fire going to do to you at that point?
Exactly.
I remember I was walking back from lunch one day, and I'm headed back to my CP from the DFAC, and I hear the yeah, I can't do it. the whistle, and
Yes.
I got and it was. I mean, when you hear the whistle, I mean, you're done. I'd heard it before, and I'm like, and I just got so, and it was nothing because it was a dud, man. But I got so pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, you mother, man, come see me, come and see me, doc.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I've
Now
been.
tell me this though, like I mean, we talk about ammunition just firing off and stuff like that, and chance of people getting shot. Like have any of you ever been actually shot, maybe in like an appendage or anything like that?
Hell no.
Oh,
No.
That's lucky. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot of guys have to deal with that though.
We've all dealt with
Work
people.
on aircraft with holes in them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying like I know who I think it was you, Derle, that was talking about watching guys that had almost their arms blown off. Like, how did you deal with that? Like that has to be so scary, and like dealing with something like that. A civilian probably has never encountered having to watch as someone's getting worked on as their arms hanging off.
other than your EMS guys, those guys are seeing it firsthand for major accidents or something like that, or these people
Car
doing
crash, yeah.
Yeah, car crashes, people shooting up schools, doing stupid shit. But yeah, I mean, you're obviously the first thing you do is react and try to help Joe out, get him wrapped up, to throw him in the back of a truck, haul him up to the damn hospital, and so he can get his arm repaired, to throw him on a friggin' helicopter and haul him back to to Bagram, and so he can fly back out to the States and hopefully save his arm at the next station. No, it's you just react. That's the biggest thing that's the best thing I can tell you.
I mean, the best way for for me, a civilian, to kind of even relate to that in any way is like seeing my dad with lung cancer in the hospital and being in that weak form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. We had we had the same. We were talking about Shank and then Rocket City. The rotation before I got there, my same battalion was at the same exact was back at Shank the rotation before that. So 2 years later, they're right back to the exact same tents that they're living in before, and then which right before they left, another rocket came in and hit right there, and killed one of the first sergeants in the Pathfinder company, and injured a whole bunch of others. And my first sergeant, that was a Pathfinder first sergeant, that dude was a hero. He took shrapnel and pretty serious injury, but he had. There's no doubt in my mind he had his own little ghosts in his own head, but he overcame them and went back to the exact same CP for his company that he was in when the rocket hit and killed his first sergeant at the time. So you deal with a lot of stuff, but you basically just go ahead and do what you got to do.
Who wants to live forever?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I think I feel like, guys, we might have gotten to a pretty good ending point, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. We got plenty to edit, so we can take this 3 hours and Daryl's beforehand hour and a half, and get it down to a good 15 minutes of content. I think that's what we're looking for.
Well, we appreciate everybody out there tuning in. What an excellent episode here. Kind of a continuation of the last one with Derle. I mean, we had so much fun out here. I mean, hopefully we get around here to campfire and talk some more at some point, because I think we've even got some more stuff done back. You guys seem like you're definitely infinite with the stories.
They are never ending. That's a fact.
Daryl told you to get him drinking, and you wouldn't shut up.
Jack
Well,
and Coke.
That's right. Well, hey, nothing wrong with it. Kind of loosens the lips a little bit, but I mean, it's definitely interesting talking to you guys. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed what we've had so far. I mean, I tell you, we're going to keep it coming with more and more content. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you next time.